I tie this debate today in context of democracy, and I see it from a different perspective. Healthy doubts are important, and Indian democracy is strong enough to absorb those doubts. But it is akin to saying, like it happens in our discourse, and I really don't want to get into it, something is wrong with the machines. So the same machines can win you one election, but the same machine makes you lose another. But that's not the debate today. I'm going to stick to this point, and I know you are getting the moot point. It's about democracy. And the most important thing in a democracy is faith. Faith. And on this, I'm going to come to the editor of TV9 English Cluster, Rakesh Khar. Democracy is directly linked to the faith. And I ask you this question, sir, on this Apple email notification. Don't you think that somehow it leaves an entire part unanswered, does not shed light, and when it uses the word state-sponsored, it comes near the word faith?
Absolutely, Karthik. I think you raised the key questions that need an answer. I don't know whether Apple is the only person to answer them, but when you link it to democracy, obviously the debate gets a much bigger canvas. First and foremost, Karthik, let's delink the communication that has come in response and the charge. Let's not in any way undermine the charge. It's a very, very serious charge. And if the charge has a certain profile, unfortunately, as of now, there is a certain profile to it. So when the profile has a certain trajectory, it assumes far greater political connotations. That's where democracy becomes relevant. Faith and trust are cornerstones of democracy. So seriousness of the charge needs to be really delved into full potential detail. Now the communication which has come, which is to my mind, to say the least, it's a broken communication. First of all, it does not define what is state-sponsored, attack in this case. They have made a very thin distinction, which is there in an annexure. When we separately sent a mail to them, they said that the annexure lists a very well-oiled machinery of cyber criminals versus state. State, they are saying, is very, very nuanced, very, very modern, very, very penetrative, while as cyber criminals, even if at their best technologically, even otherwise, are not as equipped. So that raises the level of the charge to a far greater extent. But when you don't define what the state is and who the state is, they have said we are not pinpointing the state right now. You are raising far more questions than you are actually trying to answer. To be fair to Apple, they've raised an alarm. You raised an alarm, you can't fault them for that. But if there's a certain profile, all the three questions, how do you define what is state sponsored? Second, why don't you pinpoint which the state is? It could be within India, it could be outside. We do know that now cybercrime is part of the larger weaponry, if not of mass destruction, but of larger political interference in states across the world. So when technology plays the role of, so to say, disturbing your ecosystem, whether in India or outside, we cannot be just dismissive of it. So whether it is about individual privacy or the sanctity of the democratic frameworks that you outlined very clearly, we have to connect the dots, Karthikeya. It's an evolving story. We don't have the full information, but it's first and foremost, it is important that Apple comes out and gives all the relevant details in public domain, because they have triggered a storm, if I can use that word, which is bound to rile the opposition leaders in this case, and the expected responses from out there. But let's not jump the ship and get to hear more and more from Apple. And I do hope that they have Apple. I'm just linking it to the larger Apple story in India. The Tim Cook has been coming to India, meeting the Prime Minister very recently. We do know that Apple business model in this country is doing well.
I have an issue with the word state, but since you mentioned the opposition leaders, let me play up the bite of Rahul Gandhi first.
Absolutely.
And then we have Ashwini Vaishnav making three very important points, but let's play out the bite of Rahul Gandhi.
The last Pegasus inquiry, where, my name was also there, that sort of disappeared. right? So that tells you the situation in the country. Our job as opposition is to make people understand what is going on. And I'm very happy that more and more people are understanding what is going on. It's very clear. And this is clearly a sign of panic, right? This is clearly, I mean, this is not just one person, this is the whole opposition. So this is obviously, this is not done by somebody who's not scared, or this is not done by somebody who's honest or who believes in themselves. This is the work of criminals, of thieves. Only thieves and criminals would want to do this. कम लोग हैं जो इसके खिलाफ लड़ रहे हैं, मगर हम डरने वाले नहीं हैं, हम लड़ने वाले लोग हैं, हम पीछे नहीं हटेंगे. जितनी टैपिंग करनी है कर लो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता, मुझे तो कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. अगर आपको मेरा फोन चाहिए मैं दे देता हूं, आपको उठा के ले लो.
Okay, that's angry Rahul Gandhi. That's not a new thing. I wouldn't use the word perpetually angry, but that's angry Rahul Gandhi. Government seems to have taken a very strong sort of an objection to this. I'll play out the bite later of Ashwani Kumar, a very sort of a nuanced press conference this gentleman did. They're pretty upset on this issue. Why? Because such controversies come and go, the government is in shape, it's healthy, it's, politically, it's out there, But then this has really upset them. Why?
Well, Kartikeya, elections around the corner. We saw that, there was a Pegasus scandal, when many journalists, leaders and businessmen claimed that, their phones were being tapped illegally. And that controversy has barely died down with this kind of controversy coming, and only of leaders belonging to the India opposition bloc. It created a lot of, chat on the ground. And the fact of the matter is that, when Rahul Gandhi, Mahua Moitra, Priyanka Chaturvedi, Akhilesh Yadav, all of them started, publishing the notification which they have received from Apple, it became embarrassing for the government. And then, we saw Amit Malviya immediately coming out and clarifying that, we should wait for the Apple clarification before we jump the gun, and we should wait for the official clarification. Only then we can go ahead and, and say that which person or which group or whether the government is behind all of this.
Because the opposition has been targeting the government on being the surveillance state.
Absolutely, because look at the profile of the leaders. There would be many more people who have received, but look at the profile. Asaduddin Owaisi, Rahul Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi, team of Rahul Gandhi. Then you have Priyanka Chaturvedi. Then you have Mahua Moitra. Then you have various other leaders, Akhilesh Yadav. So the profile was like, it looked like as if the entire opposition is being targeted by that. And when the clarification from Apple came, I completely agree with Rakesh ji, when he said that the reply raised far more questions than it answered. The government was quick to claim that, it's just a waste of time. Apple has clarified once for all that the government is not behind that. So all the opposition is doing is to raise unnecessary questions.
No, I would say opposition is right in raising all the questions that it deems fit. The only challenge here is that, Rahul Gandhi and many of those who've been, so to say, receiving this email have identified the country, while as Apple has not identified the country.
But the point is, sir, that what actually raised the temperature for the
and
government.
They're fair to do that as opposition
Absolutely.
leaders. So that's what I'm saying. They're fair, while as Apple has said that we are not identifying the country. The problem with the entire story as of now, it's a developing story, is that if Apple is saying that we are not identifying the country.
Absolutely.
They're not classifying the definitions. They're not defining the algorithm which draws a certain profile. There is a certain trajectory, as I'm saying repeatedly. He pointed it out very well. And then lastly, they're themselves saying that it could be false. They're not sure.
In the same sentence, they're negating that very sentence.
Okay, Kanish Gaur is also with us. Before I play out all the chunks, all the bites of Ashwani Vaishnav, is this a sort of a regular thing, a sort of a auto-generated mails, Is it something regular? Can't they be more specific? Can't they be more targeted? Kanish?
They can't be more targeted than this, where they have told that there is a state-sponsored advanced persistent threat which is targeting a specific Apple device. Mind you, you and I are using Apple iPhones. We have not got that message. There are specific people who have got those messages. So it can't be more linear than this. And there would be a threat which could have been of a significant level. That's why this alert has gone. Apple keeps on facing such threats globally, and they have a big threat intelligence team which works towards bringing these threats down and also responding and mitigating. When it comes to attribution, more needs to be done to find out the threat, and there have to be laws in this country that need to be used. The Computer Emergency Response Team in India could issue a show cause to Apple to share more details about this. The parliamentary committee would set up a special investigation team to call out Apple and report who was behind this incident. But directly today attributing the government, telling the government of India has done this is wrong, because there could be third parties. There are advanced persistent threats which come from third parties who do it on behalf of government. It could be any government, not
Kanesh,
just government of
I'm
India.
so happy that you use the word government. That is at the heart of my contention. That is where I differ from this auto-generated linear mail which has come from Apple. And I'll tell you why. But let me play out the first two bites of Ashwini Vaishnav. And I'll tell you why I have an objection with the word state.
अभी कुछ ऑनरेबल एमपीज और कुछ कई अन्य सिटीजन्स ने जो मुद्दा उठाया है कि उनके पास एप्पल से एक अलर्ट आया है, उसके बारे में मैं आपको क्लियरली कहना चाहता हूं कि सरकार इस मुद्दे पर बहुत कंसर्न्ड है और इस मुद्दे के तह तक जाएंगे। हमने इसमें इन्वेस्टिगेशन ऑर्डर कर दिया है ऑलरेडी, और इन्वेस्टिगेशन करके तह तक जाएंगे। अगर आप एप्पल के मेल का क्लियर देखेंगे, बहुत क्लियर है, कहीं पर कोई उनके पास जानकारी नहीं है क्लियर, वो केवल एक हाइपोथेटिकल या फिर केवल एक एस्टिमेट के बेसिस पे लोगों को उन्होंने ये अलर्ट भेजा है। ये वेग है, और आप सब जानते हैं कि एप्पल खुद क्लेम करता है उनका सिस्टम, उनका एन्क्रिप्शन सिस्टम जिस तरह का है उसके बारे में एप्पल खुद क्लेम करता है कि कोई उसको हैक नहीं कर सकता। दूसरी बात, एप्पल ने अभी कुछ ही समय पहले खुद ने अपना क्लैरिफिकेशन इश्यू कर दिया है कि ऐसा जिस तरह का कंपल्सिव क्रिटिक्स आरोप लगाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं वैसा कुछ भी नहीं है। 150 देशों में ये इस तरह की एडवाइजरी जारी की गई है। तो साथियों, जो लोग देश की प्रगति को पचा नहीं पा रहे, जो लोग देश को ऊपर बढ़ते हुए देख नहीं सकते, वो लोग डिस्ट्रैक्शन पॉलिटिक्स कर रहे हैं, और केवल उनके मन में इतना है कि जिस तरह से भारत प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में विश्व में अपना नाम आगे कमा रहा है, उसको वो डिस्ट्रैक्ट करे और उससे लोगों का ध्यान भटकाए। फ्रेंड्स, these compulsive critics, they have only one habit. Whenever they don't have any major issue, the only thing they'll say is surveillance. This they have tried few years back. We conducted a proper investigation. The matter was supervised by the Honorable Judiciary also. Nothing came out of that investigation, including Ms. Priyanka Gandhi Vadra. She said that her 2 children's phones were hacked, but nothing of that sort had actually happened. So this is a falsehood that some compulsive critics are trying to spread. They want to distract the country, they want to distract the people from the progress that the country is making under Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji's leadership.